Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host Lex, and I'm joined by a special co-host again this week.
Hey, I'm Chris Boudreau. Again.
Yeah. We're a video game news podcast, broadcasting live on Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast, also www.chipbit.net. If you want to check out our show archives, you can find them on Chipbit as well as iTunes. You can also find us on all sorts of social media, including things such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, other places, Steam, we're all over.
MySpace.
MySpace! I gotta make a MySpace profile. I've really been dragging my feet on that. But,
yeah.
but yeah, Chris, why don't you tell some of the people what you do?
I am a guy that writes about video games, sometimes for websites, sometimes for freelance. I'm also a musician. Have been a musician for quite a long time. About a year and a half ago, I'm a perpetual dungeon master because the world needs more dungeon masters. And you can find all the crap that I do on my Twitter, which is HereWeGomez8. That's HereWeGomez number 8.
Nice. So today it is the 21st of July, 2017. We have quite a few stories to talk about, although not as many as last week, so we should actually be able to get through everything, I'm hoping.
Yeah. And we just don't take 45 minutes on one story.
Yeah. So we've got Bioware news coming out of there. News about the Destiny 2 beta. News about Nintendo, both with their voice chat functionality and some legal stuff that they have filed, which might give us a window into their future product releases. Also, Pokemon Go news. Let's see, what else do we have here? Stuff about CSGO, Telltale Games announcements, and some numbers. Were these sales numbers, I think?
NPD numbers, yeah.
NPD numbers. We're going to wrap that all up with games that have just came out and games that are about to come out. So, what do we want to start with? We're starting with BioWare, I believe.
BioWare, yeah.
BioWare. So, for those who aren't familiar with BioWare, who are you? What are you doing listening to this?
Where have you been?
BioWare is the company that makes the Mass Effect games. They make the Dragon Age games. They make probably some other stuff. They're going to make that game called Anthem that's horrible and derivative. So they just had their general manager step down. A guy named Aaron Flynn decided that he was going to depart the studio after being general manager for I think about 3 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, this news was announced on Tuesday the 18th. And it's a big deal, not just because he's leaving, but because of who's taking his place. Now, the guy who's taking his place is Casey Hudson, who worked at BioWare for a very long time and was the project lead on a lot of things, such as the Mass Effect trilogy. Not the new Mass Effect, but the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And quite a few...
As far back as Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, yep. So he was a pretty influential figure within the company, and he left, I want to say around the time that Flynn became general manager. Not quite exactly the same, but pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to pursue things working with Microsoft on HoloLens stuff. Mm-hmm. And we all know how well that panned out, so he's back.
Yeah, it was quite weird. It kind of makes sense. He says that, he'd worked at BioWare for a long time. He wanted to take a break because, as we all know, making games is incredibly fucking hard, especially on your social and family life. So I can understand. He's like, I want to take a break, work on some new technologies and stuff, but it's like... It begs the question, was this Andromeda flopped real fucking hard. we need someone that gamers or fans of the old stuff know, and we need to change the guard here. I wonder how much it's that and how much it is Aaron Flynn also being like, I need a break too.
Yeah, it's interesting because these guys came up pretty much at the same time throughout the company, working in different roles. But very involved. I Googled Flynn's Wikipedia page, which is literally just 2 sentences. But one of those sentences mentions that he graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science in the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because Wikipedia sometimes, if someone doesn't know what they're talking about, writes it, and then it doesn't get corrected because it's such like an obscure thing. It might not be correct, but assuming it is correct, I think it was this article, or maybe it was another one I was reading, pointed out that Aaron Flynn had worked at Bioware for 17 years. So that means he started working at Bioware right out of college. And then has been worked his way up through that company to general manager over the course of his entire working life. And at the same time, Hudson was there too, because Hudson had been with the studio for 16 years before he decided to leave, but he left 3 years ago, so I guess he showed up before Flynn did by a few years. But they were definitely working side by side for a long time. I think in these statements, I don't remember where, they talk about how they're good friends and... Let's see. Oh, here we go. I think I speak for everyone who has worked with Aaron and our fans when I say thank you for everything. BioWare continues to hold a special magic full of profoundly talented people and inspiring creative energy. When I look at the stunning progress Aaron and the team has made with Anthem and the other projects in the works, I truly believe our best is yet to come. So part of that is him saying, oh, Aaron, I know that guy, and he's a great guy, and we have a great working relationship, which is nice, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it does beg the question that after Andromeda did so poorly, some higher-ups in the company were thinking, or maybe some stockholders were thinking, hey, so when that Anthem game comes out, it better not do as badly as Andromeda.
Right. Yeah. That cost us a whole shit ton of money.
And we know when this Hudson guy Hudson was never general manager. He was project lead on different things. But we know when this Hudson guy was like sort of in charge, our game sold better. So
get him in there. Get him off the bench. Put him in, coach.
Feels that way.
I mean, it's not unusual in not just the games industry, but any industry. If something really flops or a company has a really disastrous financial year, usually the CEO will step down and someone else will take the place because it's kind of like an honor thing, but it's also like, all right, you fucked up, step down now and go do something else.
BioWare's not a Japanese company. Let's not get confused.
No. But, that happened to EA with, what's his face? I can never remember his name, the guy that looked kind of weird.
They had
a horrible year, and then he stepped down, and some other weird guy that kind of looks like Satan took over. And, I think it happens pretty regularly.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened with Microsoft and Nick Spencer, right? I don't remember the name of the guy who was in there before him. Oh, Phil Spencer. Yeah. I remember the name of the guy who was in there before him, but I remember...
Don Matrick.
Oh, okay. Because I know that guy oversaw the launch of the X-Bone.
Yeah, and boy, oh boy.
And boy, that was not greeted well by people. So it was interesting that then they kicked that guy out, got Phil Spencer in, and Phil Spencer was just... towed a completely different line than his predecessor. So it seemed like it was more obviously a management shakeup because the company knew they needed to go in a different direction.
And thank God for it, because Phil Spencer knows what he's doing.
He's made a lot of good decisions. I mean, Xbox is still losing. I put that in air quotes. The console war, but I
still doing very well though.
Yeah, I feel like he's managed to salvage a bad situation in a really, really impressive way.
Absolutely,
with his work there. So hopefully,
let's hope that Casey Hudson can do the same.
Yeah, let's hope that Casey Hudson can do the same. But speaking of Anthem and games that came before Anthem that Anthem is ripping off heavily, have you heard of a game called Destiny?
No.
Oh, wow. So Destiny, game made by Bungie, is getting a sequel. Now, we all knew this was coming. I think there were actually leaked documents, around the time Destiny came out about their, dev cycle and how they were planning to make a sequel game around this time. So I expected it. and it's happening, and now Destiny 2 is in beta. People are playing the beta, and people are not enjoying the beta. They're not enjoying it at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the forums are alight with angry guardians, as they are called in Destiny, because Destiny's stupid. I mean,
all those wizards from the moon.
Lots of space wizards. Destiny's all about space wizards. There's so many of them. I really enjoyed. I watched. I was actually our mutual friend's place. I was at Zach and Gudo's place in New York City. Not even recently, like a year and a half ago, and they were playing Destiny on their game console, and I don't remember which
nondescript game console.
I feel like it was a PS4, but it might have been Xbox. And when they were going through this dungeon, and all of the monsters were, like weird technologically advanced, like alien creatures, but all of their names, like, because when they were firing at them, you'd see the monster's name above their head in their health bar, and all their names were like Goblin and like Evil Wizard or something like that. And I was like, Destiny, you are the weirdest goddamn game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
are you a Destiny player much?
No, I'm not. How could you tell that I'm not a Destiny player? Could it be the way that I just talked about it?
Yeah, I figured as much. I've never ever played it. Although, well, that's mostly because I don't own one of the modern consoles. But I am willing to try it, at least now that it's coming to PC. Because I have to, I guess. Like, I feel like I have to try it.
And I think you should, and I need to build a new computer before I'm going to do anything like that, but it's certainly something I'd be interested in checking out. Because I enjoy shooters from time to time. And although this is more than that, I think it's, at its heart, I think it is a shooter.
It's a shooter. It's a Diablo shooter, it seems like.
A little bit.
Or you did.
But this news story out of it... Oh, it's interesting. Ben says the volume is a little quiet. I don't know.
I was trying to slip that into you.
No, it's our viewers think the volume is quiet. I certainly hope he's not trying to message stuff on Twitch, because I can't have that open right now. But I don't know why volume would be quiet. Is it quiet? See if it's quiet for both of us or just quiet for one of us.
I can check it out. I can see what's going on here with my...
While you do that, I will go into the guts of the story, which is that Destiny 2 beta, it's out, people are playing it, they don't like it. The thing that they don't like about it is that the balancing has been completely overhauled for Destiny 2 versus Destiny. A lot of things that people had problems with in the first Destiny game was that the player versus player mode of the game was really unbalanced. And part of the reason for this is you would be using the same items that you would have acquired in PvE, player versus environment stuff, which is the bulk of the game. And when you like in Diablo, if a super rare item was dropped, you would get that and it would be great, and PvE would be balanced for you to have that item at that level, at least basically. But then when you jump into PvP, it's not balanced for that at all. So other people, unless they had items that good, you would just smoke them.
Right.
Or so I have read. So for Destiny 2, they wanted to fix that. And the way that they did was they just swung the pendulum in the completely opposite direction. So now all the item balance stuff is toned way down, and everything's way more regulated, and there's way fewer super item drops, and like there's less weapon categories and I guess ammo categories and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which makes PvP balance much nicer and work pretty well. And even people who are racking on Destiny 2's beta for the reasons they are a lot of them still acknowledge, the PvP does work a lot better than it did in the first game. But unfortunately, because they haven't retuned PvE that much, now PvE is just like not very fun anymore.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand why they are so insistent on making the weapons the same across the two play modes.
Yeah, that would be like a simple way to solve this, right? It's just to not have the weapons the same across the play modes.
Yeah, I can understand that they're like, oh, well, you found this cool weapon. You want to be able to use it in the mode. That's fine. But that is like, it's impossible because I'll bring up Diablo again. For Diablo 3, for a long time, they talked about how they were going to have a dedicated PvP mode. And they're working on it. And they're working on it and they're working on it. And it never came out because they realized that shit is impossible to balance when you have a game that allows for randomized drops. When randomized drops and powerful drops of powerful items is a core mechanic of the game, there's no possible way that you can balance it unless you just strip away all the items and just say, everyone, this is your class. You have to use these abilities. You have these weapons. That's it, you know? It's the same thing with Diablo 2. Like, why there was PvE in Diablo 2, but it wasn't like competitive or anything like that. It wasn't taken seriously. It was just fun because it was over in 2 seconds because people had ridiculous items, you know? So I don't think you can. I mean, I'm not a game designer, and I'm sure that there's some smarter people out there that could figure this shit out. But for me, at least, I don't think you can have both a like nearly competitive PvP mode and a item drop based game at the same time, and you can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Also, one of the important things to note about this that a lot of the particularly angry commenters I don't think are taking into account fully is that this is a beta.
Yeah.
The game hasn't come out yet. So these are the kind of balance issues that we want to resolve in the beta of the game. Maybe not to this degree, but still, this is the time to fix them, and people are bringing them to Bungie's attention, and Bungie is attempting to fix them. So
yeah, because they said that they basically got confirmation on a lot of the things that they thought might be problems.
Yeah.
Like they were talking about, we considered that the ammo was off. There wasn't enough of it or whatever, and since everyone's complaining about it, we were correct. So that's something that will change.
Yeah. And they seem to already be making some changes right now. We have a statement in this article talks about in addition to returning the drop rates, we built a system that guarantees power ammo drops for you and your fire team from certain enemies, giving power weapons a more reliable and predictable role in your arsenal. Other areas, we've made significant tuning changes, including grenade effectiveness and PvE boss vitality and weapon damage against non-player combatants. Actually, I'm sorry, those were the initial changes. This is not what they've changed in response, but I think they are going to be changing stuff in response because they have been talking to the players who've been playing it, which is good. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't. I think if they opened a beta and then were like, we're not going to listen to anything you say, that would be weird, but luckily they are paying attention.
It's good that this is an actual beta and not a promotional quote-unquote beta that a lot of games have that aren't actually betas.
Oh, you mean a demo?
A demo, yes.
The new name for demos.
It's an open beta for a weekend, a week before it launches. That's not a beta.
Yeah,
that's
it's a demo.
That's a demo.
I don't know.
So it's good that this is actually a beta.
I never understood why they moved away from the term demo in the industry. Maybe it had some sort of negative connotation. I don't know, but I just like...
A little bit.
That's what it is, so just freaking call it that.
Yeah, I think it's not so much a negative connotation as the term beta sounds more exclusive, and it's like, ooh, I'm getting in, I'm checking out the game, like, while it's still being worked on.
Yeah.
So it makes people feel a little more special when they're like, ooh, it's only available for a weekend, and I get to try it, and and I get to shape the game world. Where it's like, no, those games are already pressed on gold. Just the certification process takes like a month, so no, that game's done.
Quick note for our listeners, if they are still having any trouble with the volume being quiet, I realized that I actually can't fix that because my mic's volume sensitivity in OBS is almost at max, whereas yours is turned way down, so it'll be at level with mine.
Right. I did listen to a little bit of the live stream, and it's listenable. You're just going to crank your speakers a little bit.
Yeah, so what's probably going to happen is it is going to be a little quiet, but don't worry, because when I take the recording of this and edit it, boosting the audio is the first thing I'll do. So if you want to listen, if you're listening to this later through iTunes, YouTube, any of our other archived areas, this won't even be an issue for you. You won't notice it. But that should be fixed in post.
Audio problems. That should be. We should have another podcast, hosted by you and I, called Audio Problems.
Oh, I love it. And we can talk about how they're always my fault, no matter who they happen to, as long as I'm there. So
if my microphone breaks, it's because Lex is somewhere around me.
Mm-hmm. So, story about Nintendo. Our first Nintendo story of the day. The Nintendo's voice chat app is live. It was released. It's a thing. Specifically for use with Splatoon 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when this app was going to come out, a lot of people were very confused because they said, wait, a voice chat app that's not in the Nintendo Switch, you play it through your phone? That's weird. That seems like a really stupid idea, Nintendo.
Oh, Nintendo.
Nintendo literally responded by saying, listen, the voice chat, the way everybody else does voice chat, is clunky and complicated. So this is our way to do it.
Assholes.
Yeah, that was an utterly ridiculous statement, which I will elaborate on why in a minute. But the app came out, people are using it, and they generally universally hate it because it's horrible. And it's horrible for a multitude of reasons, but mostly for the exact reason that I just said Nintendo was trying to avoid, which is that it's overly clunky, it's annoying to use. If you're using it on an iPhone, not only is it going to suck your battery life, but because the new iPhones don't have headphone jacks, or their headphone jack is their charge port because of the little converter thingy that you use, you can't have your phone charging while you use this app because you need to use it for headphones. Jesus. So it'll suck your battery life and you can't keep your phone charged. But also, you need to buy this super dumb peripheral piece of plastic equipment that I don't know if it shows it off in this article. I feel like it doesn't. No. It doesn't.
Are you talking about the little
squid guy? Yeah. That can split your audio cable so that you can have.
They have a link to it, and it's hyperlinked in one of in the article somewhere.
Somewhere.
It is it's like the third paragraph after the second picture.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this is a nightmare. At least it sounds like it. Like, I don't know why Nintendo makes these odd. I mean, that's like a phrase that everyone says. I don't know why Nintendo makes these odd choices, but like specifically with online stuff, I don't see why they have such a hang up for making things impossible. You know, like why does it have to be this difficult?
It's just it's just baffling to everyone because this is an issue that has been solved.
Yeah,
it was solved by every
solved.
other company a long time ago. I think one of the commenters was talking about how this is something that would be totally acceptable in the PS2 era.
Yes.
But it's been a long time since the PS2 era.
Yeah, very long time. Yeah, I mean, it's bad. I don't get it. I really don't, because like this is basically, why even do this? Like, why not just use like Discord on a phone and talk to your friends that way? It's way easier, you know. Yeah. And
it would be one thing if I could see this as a money grab move from Nintendo, but I don't even know if they're the ones making those stupid little headphone splitter squid things. I think that might be a different company.
Yeah.
And the app is free, so it can't be about that. It's just that they're honestly this clueless about online voice chat. Just baffling.
I mean, I don't know what the thing is, because like you said, it's been solved a long time ago. So it's not like this new problem that they're rubbing their temples in Nintendo HQ, being like, "Ooh, how do we crack this nut?"
Yeah,
you know?
In certain ways, it's good that Nintendo tries to, go their own way. The Switch, I think, is evidence of that. But this is when that goes wrong. This is that same sensibility in the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Just look at the friend codes. Like, could you make a worse system?
Oh, God, it's awful. They said they were doing away with those. Have they officially done away with them yet? I know that was like a thing. I don't know.
They're still going through with that.
It's unfortunate. The other thing about this app that really cheeses people as well is it's the only way to look up and keep track of all of your stats and playtime for the game.
Oh, God.
So it's not even that, like, if people don't want to voice chat, sure, they can just use Discord on their phone with their friends. But also, I think for adding your friends, this app, I don't know if it's necessary, but it makes it a lot easier. So, people kind of have to use it if they want to have the online experience, but it's a huge pain in the butt. It's bad. It's just real bad. Nintendo really goofed.
Right. Well, yeah, because Nintendo, it seems that for the longest time, whenever they land a real haymaker, they fucking trip over themselves the next step,
Yeah, I mean,
the Nintendo Switch hit great and everyone's talking about it, there's barely any bad press about the Nintendo Switch, and then they do shit like this.
Yeah. It's at least the last time this happened was with the Wii versus the Wii U. And if they're going to trip up and make a dumb mistake, I'd rather them make it with a voice chat app than with their next console, I suppose.
Yeah. I also wonder if this is weird because they have weird helicopter parent issues with their players where they don't I can see this kind of coming from something we don't want the kids hearing naughty words from internet people, so we have to make this really bizarre loop of difficulty to have people chat with each other. You know what I mean?
Nintendo, some people have argued that. I think Nintendo might have said something about that at one point.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I kind of get that, but I feel like if you just made the app something that was installed on the Switch, you could have put some, parental controls or password protection stuff or something to, effectively have the same kind of protection.
Mm-hmm. Without having to buy a splitter so that you can hear two different volumes on your it's amazing. It's amazing.
My God. Okay, so
yeah.
Moving on to something that's Nintendo adjacent. Pokemon Go. Does anyone still play Pokemon Go?
Does anyone still play? Okay, apparently they do.
If they do, they're in for a treat because Legendary Creatures, they will finally be coming to Pokemon Go this weekend, which means
it took them a year.
Tomorrow. This story is from Destructoid from the 20th, so yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it's good. There's a little trailer, which I'm not going to play because it'll get copyright struck on YouTube. But there's a trailer where we see the big raid battles, which was the thing that was promised to us when Pokemon Go first came out with that Mewtwo trailer. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I kind of do.
It was all those people running through New York City.
Yeah,
that was... That was amusing because it was so unrealistic. But then Pokemon Go came out, and everyone was... I mean, they were running, but they were, walking around looking at their phone through New York City and every other city. And then I thought, whoa, maybe this could, something like this could actually happen. But then they never had raids, so it couldn't.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so that's finally we're going to get raids. Has been more than a year? Yeah.
About a year.
This seems like the basic MO for Niantic and Pokemon Go in general, which is that they promised a lot of stuff up front, they delivered on a little bit of it, and then they've tripped over themselves and spent a ton of time trying to give us all the features that we assumed the game would launch with.
Yeah. How much do you think this is, though? Niantic just... They never assumed that it would have hit as big as it did.
I think that's definitely part of it. But at the same time, we just discussed how Nintendo is totally clueless on a lot of stuff. So I think Nintendo also didn't, and the Pokemon Company, did not give Niantic the tools they were going to need to handle this kind of influx of players, all this kind of stuff, because Nintendo can be really clueless sometimes. And
also, Nintendo seems to take a long time. They're like a huge cruise ship. It just takes a long time to turn it in any direction. It's
a great Carnival cruise ship. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun until you get, diarrhea and everyone on the boat gets sick.
Yes, exactly. So I think part of it was that. And I think that part of it was, like, if Nintendo, the Pokemon company, are going to be dumb enough to think that a game that's literally the realization of Pokemon... Yeah. It's like everything all the people who grew up watching the Pokemon TV show and playing Pokemon on their Game Boys have always wanted to do. Now there's a game that's free that everyone can play on the phones that everybody has, where they can do that. The fact that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company were too stupid to realize that would take off in the way that it did. Okay, they're kind of clueless sometimes. I still put onus on Niantic being like, you guys, somebody should have realized this. Why wasn't it you? It should have been somebody.
It should have been somebody.
Somebody should have realized.
What a weird time when that game came out, though. I don't think we'll ever, or not for a long time, see something like that again.
I would hope. I hope that we see something like that again.
It was so weird.
It was weird, but I was happy.
It was
about
like
it.
Go outside and just like people walking around, fucking kids running around and like catching Pokemon.
Yep.
I had an air conditioning repairman come over, and he's like, "Yo, you play Pokemon Go?" And I was like, "What? What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're all going to like the mall. We're gonna go check out this gym or whatever."
Cool.
It was so weird, and especially like I don't live in a city; I live in like the suburbs, so it was pretty hard. I tried it for a little bit, but it was pretty hard because I had to like drive to any place that I wanted to catch Pokemon. But if you lived in a city, I mean, like it was crazy, you know.
My favorite memory of last summer of Pokemon Go was, and I don't know, I think I talked about it on the podcast because it involved Dan. I was driving somewhere, and I was supposed to meet Dan there, and the person in front of me is just driving like an old person. And I'm just like, who is this? This is like a side street. I took this way so that I could get to my destination faster because there's less traffic, and this person's like kind of drifting off to the side of the road and going like 20 in a 30 zone, and it's super bothering me. And I'm just like, dude, fucking pull over. I want to pass you. So then I go to pass them, and when I pass them, I look at who it is, and it's Dan playing Pokemon Go.
God damn it, Dan.
And I just stopped because, again, this is a side street and there's no one else around. And I just stopped, and I was like, God damn it, Dan. We're supposed to meet at this place in 10 minutes. Stop playing Pokemon Go. And he's like, but there's a Geodude.
Oh God. Yeah, it was a weird time. It was a weird time.
It was my favorite Pokemon Go memory. Yeah. So,
but hopefully this thing will, for them, hopefully it will bring some people back to it, like people that just still have it on their phone and haven't played in a long time. They'll be like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean the whole raid thing sounds like a ton of fun, which is why I wanted the game to launch with it. But I'm glad that it's finally happening.
Yeah,
I'm sure that it won't work properly in its launch weekend, but maybe in a month or two it'll be fine.
yeah. I'd like to. I like to keep track of this one, see what their numbers are. I mean, I don't think they share their numbers, but it'd be interesting to see if they have a big uptick after this in players.
So for next story, I actually want to switch to the other Nintendo story we have, just because I wanted all our Nintendo stories to be adjacent to each other. But we have a story about trademarks. So why don't you take it away why don't you take it away with this story, Chris?
Okay, so Nintendo trademarks suggest that a Nintendo 64 Classic Edition is at least in their heads. We actually talked last week when we were talking about the Super Nintendo Classic. I think I asked you, hey, when do you think the Nintendo 64 Classic will happen? And it seems like, I mean, it's trademarks, and we'll talk about how trademarks don't mean anything sometimes, but still. So the next iteration of its classic series may be N64 because in recent European trademark filings from Nintendo, they one of the parts of the trademark was this little black and white line art 2D graphical representation of a Nintendo controller, and one of them is unmistakably the N64 because there is no other controller that looks like that.
There's no other controller that designed for people with 3 hands. Yes,
exactly. It was made for aliens. But what's interesting about this is because in other trademark filings they had pretty much exactly the same kind of art for both the NES controller and the Super Nintendo controller. So this could obviously mean that these are trademark filings for a N64 Classic. That being said, trademarks sometimes don't mean shit. there's a lot of, if you're a big company and you have a lot of IP, sometimes people just throw trademarks all around, trademark everything, so that way, in case they want to do something down the road, they can't get sued for it by someone else that has been making a similar product. So a lot of these kind of companies just bank a ton of trademarks in case they ever get to do something.
Yes, and there certainly was. Oh, they can also use it as a form of protection, right? I mean, we all know that they own the rights for the N64, but considering how successful the NES Classic and the SNES Classic have been, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some random Chinese company being like, "Oh, how do we make an N64 Classic and make it just legally distinct enough?"
Oh, of course. So, because there's already, I mean, like, there are tons and tons of knockoff little machines that are basically the same thing as the NES and SNES Classic, except it's all just unlicensed ROMs and legally distinct box art and stuff like that. Which is why I'm so confused that the Atari box is coming out, but that's another story. I don't know if you heard about that one.
I did hear about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I've been playing with an Atari box since I was like 16. It's this little plastic controller that you plug into the RCA in the back of the TV.
Yep.
It has all the games in it. Everyone has one of them. But yeah, so this looks like it's not surprising. I don't think that if after the success of the NES and the probable success of the SNES Classic, that they'd probably, right after there, come out with a 64 Classic.
It's cool. It's I hope they do. I think that when we were talking about it last week, I was like, nah, it's a long way off.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe
I'd say maybe it's still a year. I mean, because I think a year at least. Because that you could sell that SNES Classic for like 2 years and they'll probably still be making money on it.
True. What was the amount of time between the NES and SNES Classics?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I feel like it wasn't more than a year. Maybe it was.
Didn't feel like it. Was it last Christmas? Let's see. The NES Classic. Let's see if I'll try to get a year on that. In the meantime, the question I wanted to ask you is, what games would you put on a 64 Classic?
Oh, that's a good question. What? Jet Force Gemini.
Ooh, yeah.
Perfect Dark would go on there. A lot of rare games. Let's just put that out there. What
Maybe
else?
Pilot Wings.
Oh yeah, Pilot Wings. Oh, Star Fox 64. Star Fox 64. I never get tired of playing.
Yeah. Do you think they'd be able to get Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's and stuff like that?
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have a really tough time with all the rare titles, but if I had my choice of anything, it would mostly be rare titles.
Yeah.
I also feel like I would choose Perfect Dark over GoldenEye because
really,
it's basically the same game except with cooler weapons.
Yeah.
So I guess the reason why GoldenEye was the one that took off was because it was a licensed property game, so it had more visibility. That's why I assume that happened.
It came out first.
Oh, it did come out first, didn't it? That's true.
And it didn't require a expansion pack.
The expansion pack. I hope the N64 Classic has an expansion pack slot.
Yeah, you have to buy it.
That would be great.
Like, sorry, you can't play Majora's Mask until you get this.
Ooh, I would like to have Majora's Mask on there. Majora's Mask just got a re-release for handheld, didn't it? Well, not just, but like relatively recently. Yeah,
the 3DS got a re-release. Whoa, someone's driving with some weird music.
Oh.
But I'd imagine that if it does come out, that both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask could be on there. And then, Mario 64. I'd like to see some weirder stuff like Body Harvest.
Body Harvest, yeah.
Yeah, which is a game that was made by Rockstar North before they were called Rockstar North. Just like other weird shit like Buck Bumble, maybe.
Oh, that game sucks.
Yeah.
I actually, when a couple of years ago, I was buying a bunch of N64 games. Because I don't know, I just wanted to get back into N64, and I found a copy online of Buck Bumble, or maybe I saw it at a store. I think it was like at a store, there was like a used copy. So I picked it up, and that game is awful. It's
pretty bad.
It just controls like mud.
Yeah, oh yeah. The only fun-ish thing about it was the multiplayer soccer mode.
Oh,
where you shoot the ball with the gun around and stuff.
Also,
besides
the
that,
song that was written for it that plays in the in the.
It was a big bug
menu.
when it's time to rock with the biggity buck bump. Yes, I remember it.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Anyways, so the 64 Classic, I'm sure it'll come out eventually, and then we'll move on to GameCube Classic, and then I don't think they'll do any more from that until, can you really do like a Wii Classic? I don't know.
What they really should be doing is just working to expand their virtual console marketplace that they have on Switch. But I don't I understand why they're not doing that. And releasing a lot of these reissued consoles instead, because these consoles generate more hype and probably sell a lot better than if they
because they're more for nostalgia. And I think that these kind of things would sell. I think these things sell in the mainstream, for people that don't even play games at all, don't have consoles, don't play PC games, but they played Nintendo games when they were kids.
Yeah.
I think that's they see that on the USA Today, and they're like, oh, well, I'll buy that for my kids now. Now I'm a 30-year-old person with kids, and I'll buy that and have a little nostalgia trip myself and play it with my kids and put it down and not touch it again. So I think for people like them, it's I think they're and them and us, of course, us being the hardcore people, are like, oh, that's a cool little piece of tech. I think it's selling to both audiences, and it's right around Christmas. And by the way, yes, the NES Classic came out last November, so it's been a year. And the SNES Classic is coming out this September.
All right. So let's see here. Moving on to our next story. CSGO, the wild world of CSGO competitive championship prize money pools. This article is fascinating. I found it.
It is.
It's from Wednesday, which was the 19th. Written by Maddie Myers, who is a journalist who I follow, who does really good work.
Yeah.
And this is it's just kind of crazy. The journalist here really dug into this story, and there are a lot of weird kind of moving parts to it. So I'm just going to sort of go through the basics of what happened. Basically, in October of 2016, there was a Counter-Strike Global Offensive World Championship. And the winner, or I should say there were different teams competed. There's prize money for first, second, third, and fourth place, I think. Apparently the Argentinian team, who placed second, have still not received their prize money, which was about $20,000. So not an inconsequential amount of money to be withheld for this amount of time.
Yeah.
And this journalist reached out to them, asked them about it. We got a quote here. The CSGO Argentinian team didn't receive their payment yet, and we also never received our payments to work in the Spanish-Portuguese streaming channels, said the Team Argentina's captain, Martin I can't pronounce it.
Biolacci?
Something. It's Argentinian. I never had a chance. So, yeah. It goes on to talk about how they started calling up a bunch of the different teams that competed. And some people also said they hadn't received anything. Some teams wouldn't comment. But this all seems to stem back to this company, the streaming company that this championship was streamed on, which was at the time called Azubu. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Obviously not as big a deal as Twitch, because who's heard of Azubu? But Azubu put this together, or they didn't put it together, but they sponsored it. So they were supposed to provide all the prize money, and I guess the whole trade-off was it's CSGO World Championship, so a bunch of people will watch your platform, and you'll get your platform all this visibility, so you will provide prize money, which seems perfectly reasonable. Now, Azubu apparently has existed since 2011. So it's just as old as Twitch is, but just has not been even close to as successful, which is kind of sad at this point.
Back when Twitch was called Justin TV.
Justin.tv. Justin.tv. Back when all sorts of illegal stuff was streamed on it.
Yep.
The good old days.
Good old days.
So, and recently, Azubu acquired another video streaming site called Hitbox, which is actually a great name for a streaming site.
Yeah, and I've watched stuff on that, and it wasn't bad.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But they absorbed them, and they've also changed their name to Smashcast.tv, which is horrible and also the most 90s sounding thing I've ever heard.
Smashcast.tv.
Yeah.
Real bad.
So, a company working with them was, eFrag. I don't...
Yeah.
It's a weird... A lot of moving parts to this. But,
yeah.
But Azubu, or Smashcast.tv, I think I'm going to refer to them as Azubu, because... have been really difficult to reach to resolve this issue. They apparently have a sort of new CEO. There's also weird questions with the people who fund the site. One of them especially, and I don't remember where he's mentioned in this article, but this guy I think he's South Korean. And he was one of the two main people who funded. Here we go. Azubu's other key investor, Dr. Kim Seok-ki, had been arrested on suspicion of manipulation of stock prices.
Sounds like a good wholesome
December.
owner.
Yeah. So one of the two main investors for this company was arrested for manipulating stock prices. Well, allegedly manipulated stock prices this past December. So that's a red flag. Bit of a red flag. The other guy, Lars Windhorst, has a checkered past, to say the least. There's reports of him pleading guilty to charges in 2009 of embezzling money from one of his firms. He's he's a really shady character.
With an alleged $68 million in reneged deals.
Yeah. Ooh. So, when those are the two principal actors behind Azubu, it starts to make more sense that they might not have paid out this money.
Yeah, they sound incredible. All of Azubu sounds incredibly sketchy. At least that's how this article paints them with facts. There's also drama between the CEO of Azubu and the former CEO of Azubu. So right now, Azubu is run by Mike McGarvey. Mm-hmm. It's funny, God, everyone involved in this is from a different country. So, Mike McGarvey took over for the previous CEO in, I think, September. And so he was there. The previous CEO's name was Ian Sharp. Yeah. And McGarvey was there for the actual CSGO World Championships. He oversaw all that. But when he was asked about the prize money stuff, he said that there are clearly things that are not resolved. Here we go. I can comment that Azubu's previous management team made commitments to broadcasters and events far beyond the company's means. We have worked to resolve over 90% of these obligations and have a few left to resolve, which we plan to do. When asked, $20,000.
Yes. When asked what the things that he had resolved were specifically, he wouldn't comment. And when asked what the other things he has yet to resolve are, he would not comment. So, he's basically been throwing Ian Sharp, the previous CEO, under the bus, saying, Ian Sharp and his team overextended the company. When I came in, I couldn't renege on a bunch of the promises they had made, but I also couldn't pay them out. So what am I supposed to do? And meanwhile, Ian Sharp, who was also interviewed, said, my executive team and I ran Azubu for 3 years, quite a while, striving to set the goals delivered to us by the investors. We met those objectives despite a constant and serious lack of funding. The deals that we signed at the time, we did in good faith, believing that we had significant investment from those investors. Turned out not to be true. Hence, the executive team decided to move on to other opportunities. So this is actually more telling, because this is interesting in that Ian Sharp, when he was running the show, he may have known that there was no way they were going to have the money to pay for the CSGO tournament. So he preemptively quit the company so that he didn't have to be involved when they couldn't write the check, right?
Right.
which is crazy.
Yeah, that sounds insane. I love the phrase, the deals that we signed this time, we believed in good faith. They believing that we had significant investment from those investors. That turned out not to be true. Hence, the executive team decided to move on to other opportunities. It's like, oh yeah, well, actually, it turned out that we weren't making money, so we left the house burning, and that's it. You know, that's what you do. You just crush a company and fuck it, leave it, let somebody else pick it up.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. Ian Sharp is certainly at fault for doing what you just said. Mike McGarvey is certainly at fault for then saying, oh yeah, we'll keep everything running as normal and we won't admit there's any problem until people realize we haven't paid them, and then we'll just sort of say, oh, we'll do it eventually. Oh, there's also no McGarvey has made no timeline for when the CSGO teams will be paid. So that may never actually happen.
Right. This sounds like a dreadfully mismanaged company.
Yes.
And especially because at the core of this, they're running a company that is trying to dethrone Twitch. And let me tell you, if YouTube couldn't do it, then you're not going to be able to do it with Smashbox TV or whatever it's called.
Now, a lot of people are coming down hard on this company right now, especially because of one of the things I mentioned earlier, which was that they procured Hitbox for like millions of dollars. I don't think that we know the exact price, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of millions. Yeah. And and they did that at the exact same time that they were reneging on paying a bunch of people. So when they say, oh, we don't have any money to pay you because we don't have the funds, people say, wait, but you had enough money to spend millions on this acquisition during the time you were supposed to be paying us.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Yep. I wonder just to what recourse these teams could take. You know, like, I guess it's all down to what contracts they signed. Like,
there's a lawsuit going on right now.
Right.
EFRAG is taking them to court and trying to get money.
Right.
But
I hope they get it, because fuck that company, Azubu and Box and Smashbox.
Oh, there's also a thing with Dota 2 Invitational winners that have not been paid either. There's a little blurb at the end of the article. But
no specific timing on those other than we're working towards resolving these issues.
That's, man.
Which means we're not doing anything.
I mean, yeah, it means they're not doing anything. So, this is some crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I think what's probably going to happen, if they hadn't just acquired Hitbox, my 100% guaranteed prediction for this was that Smashcast.tv would fold in like a month. That it was about to go away. But because they just acquired Hitbox, I assume they're going to stick around a little while, because there's money to do that. So the investors still have money. But what I think is probably going to happen is they're going to get their pantsuit off, because they're clearly in the wrong here, and as soon as this goes to court, that's going to be established. And then they're going to get sued for a ton of money, and they're going to lose, and then they're going to fold.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that Hitbox or Smashcast is going to do that well. Like I said before, I don't understand why all these companies are trying to make Twitch competitors, because it's just not going to work.
No, like, I understand that
Microsoft is doing one with fucking what are they calling it? Like, I can't even remember the name, but they talked about it all E3. They're like, you can watch now on our streaming service.
Oh,
it's like,
I forgot about
who does
that. Yeah.
Like, no one's heard of that. No one knows what that is. No one cares. Twitch is all there is. Like I said, if YouTube couldn't dethrone them, then no one's going to dethrone them.
Yeah, and you had. What was interesting to me is you had CSGO's tournament stuff is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And you still had them willing to work with Azubu. Maybe it's because Azubu offered some sort of lucrative deal for them.
So I'm sure.
But they were willing to work with them. So Azubu was not totally irrelevant. They had people who wanted to work with them. However, now that they've done this, not just to CSGO but also to Dota, none of these esports leagues are going to want to have anything to do with them.
No.
So any kind of expansion into esports, which is why I assume they think it's viable to try and be a Twitch competitor, is because esports just keep growing and growing, and they're so hot right now. But now none of those people are going to work with them, so they aren't going to grow that way.
No, yeah, they're screwed.
They're totally screwed. They screw themselves, really.
Oh yeah. I would love to. This sounds like it could even make like a good movie if someone dramatized this and turned into like a Wolf of Wall Street situation.
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right. So let's move on to Telltale Games.
Telltale.
Get us into this. What's going on with Telltale?
So Telltale, the adventure game company, they have announced 3 new games, including Wolf Among Us 2. So they'll be at San Diego Comic-Con on the surface of the sun. But what they were bringing there was a mystery until now, writes Destructoid, who wrote this. Peter Glagowski. The developers announced the sequels to 3 of its most popular titles, including Wolf Among Us 2. I was going to say Wolf of Wall Street 2. Wolf Among Us 2, Batman Enemy Within, which is also the name of next XCOM expansion, and The Walking Dead The Final Season. And all these will be debuting on PC, Mac, PS4, Xbox One, and every other console and handheld in the world. But the only one that will be releasing this year is Batman, and Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us 2 will be coming out sometimes in 2018. So they just dropping release dates for a shit ton of games because Telltale, that's how they play. That's how they roll, I guess.
You'd think that Firaxis would get all up on them because Batman Enemy Within.
Yeah.
Especially in the current era of game companies suing each other because their titles are too similar. Like, XCOM Enemy Within was clearly first, and that's what people think of when they hear that.
I honestly think the difference is that because this is Batman The Enemy Within, and the XCOM expansion was just Enemy Within.
That's part of it, but I think more importantly, it's because it's Batman, which means they have Warner Brothers backing them, and Warner Brothers is so much bigger than Firaxis.
Yeah, and Firaxis looks like, fuck it.
Yeah, Firaxis is like, we're gonna try and stop you from doing this, and
we can't sue Ubisoft for their dumb Mario game. We can't sue Warner Brothers.
Man, now I feel really bad for Firaxis because they are just being ripped off left and right here.
Totally. And XCOM's like one of the new XCOMs or something like my favorite games of the past decade.
They're great.
But do you play any Telltale games?
I played Wolf Among Us 1, not all of it, because I didn't buy all the chapters because I ran out of money. But I really enjoyed it quite a bit. That was really good.
Yeah, they're good games. I play most of them. I have not played Batman. I've not played the first Batman season, although I've heard it's really great. And I've played the 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. I haven't played the newest one, which I heard's not that good. I played Wolf Among Us, Game of Thrones. They're all pretty good. They really need to update their engine because that engine is just shoddy as all get out. But I understand that they at the rate that they put out games. I guess I'm not surprised that they just chug away at the writing and the implementing and not so much the engine building. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they're building an engine on the side. But the big news on this is that this is the final season of The Walking Dead that they'll be making. You'll be playing Clementine again, which you do not play in, or at least you don't play as a major role in the newer one. So she'll be back as the main protagonist, and it'll be it. That'll be it. They'll be done, which I think is kind of cool. I like when companies are like, "Yep, that's it. We're done."
I mean, it's also much easier for Telltale to wrap this up because at this point they have several other franchises that are doing very well for them. So they don't. They're not leaning so heavily on Walking Dead as they were in their earlier years.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it was definitely that first Walking Dead season that catapulted them into stardom.
But yeah, so interesting news from them. Now we're running a little low on time, so let's blitz through this last story.
Yes, I just want to say the most amazing thing. So the most wonderful time of the month, the June NPD numbers. For those of you that don't know, NPD numbers. The NPD group is a consumer watch group that adds up sales for games and hardware every month, and the numbers are not 100% accurate because there are some companies that forego giving their numbers over, but it's a pretty good snapshot of the industry in general where it's at. The NPD group reports that game sales all around are up 7% from last month, and this month, United States has spent $765 million on gaming hardware, software, and accessories, which is crazy. The biggest, funniest thing, I think, or the most shocking thing about this is that in their chart of overall game sales, the games that have sold the best this month, number 1, Tekken 7. Number 2, Injustice 2. Number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5, which I don't know how that game's still selling in boxes. It's amazing to me. Number 4, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Number 5, ARMS. And then Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8, Overwatch, NBA 2K17, Horizon Zero Dawn, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, and then goes down with some more kind of usual suspects, including Minecraft, which will also never leave. But holy shit, Tekken 7 and Injustice 2 at the top of the list.
Fighting games.
Who knew?
Yeah.
I think this is just a sign that it is becoming more and more difficult to actually figure out what is actually trending and what is actually popular among players, because there's so many micro communities all across that are super passionate about these things that you just don't hear about from a lot of people. Like, I know a lot of fighting game people, like people that play fighting games, and like I watched Evo with last weekend, and none of them were talking about Tekken 2 or Injustice. So it's amazing that it's selling as well as it is. But I guess it just goes to show you that you can never know what actually is being popular
until you see the sales charts.
And even more amazing, still the best-selling game of 2017 so far is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah, that baffles me. I know no one who has been talking about that game or was excited for it to come out or anything. But I think it's cool that we have everything's up, which is nice, especially for this time of year, right?
Yeah.
And that and especially hardware. I'm really happy that hardware is up, but I'm wondering how much of that is because of the Switch.
A lot, if I'm going to guess.
Because hardware is up 27%. I got to assume at least 20 of that is because of the Switch.
Yeah.
But hopefully,
it is the new thing that came out.
Yeah, hopefully the people are into other things. But that's good. It's always good to know that the game industry is healthy and chugging along. And
it is doing very well.
Good.
Especially for Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Especially for Tom Clancy himself, sitting in his mansion, getting all those royalty checks. Oof.
Yeah.
So
he's not alive anymore, though.
I assumed he was, like, in some sort of machine, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, like a rebreather?
Yeah.
Pumping out those spy novels?
Mm-hmm. So, it is July.
Tom Clancy died in 2013.
What? That can't be true. He's got to still be alive. There must be a Walt Disney-type situation. He's frozen somewhere.
Oh, probably.
If his books taught me anything... and I have never read any of them. But if they've taught me anything, conspiracy theories are a thing. So,
and get this shit: Clancy died on October 1st, 2013, of an undisclosed illness. I read Soviet spy.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. Vladimir Putin got him.
Yep.
So, let's see what came out in the past week since the 14th. Oh, not much.
Not much.
Some random things that aren't very relevant. Something that's not on this list that came out and that I bought and that is amazing and everyone should go buy it because it is only $10 on Steam and on Good Old Games. The Adult Swim game Kingsway is out.
Oh, yeah.
That is a hybrid RPG/operating system.
Yes, I love desktop simulators.
It's really, really fun. It's so fun.
I put it on my wish list. I'm definitely planning on playing it when I have some time.
It's actually surprisingly difficult. I expected it to be challenging, but depending on what class you play, if you don't make the right moves really early on in the game, you'll just get killed.
Right.
But right now, the problem I'm running into with it is I've leveled up to a certain point, and I've gotten a bunch of sweet items, and it's starting to sort of snowball, where I just sort of keep getting cooler and cooler items and getting more and more experience, and I'm like, okay, So things are less challenging now, but I have like a whole nother sort of area to move into that might just slap me down again.
Right. Yeah, you kind of see the tracks being laid in front of you.
Yeah.
How the game can go.
But the way that game works is basically that it is an RPG in the style of, I don't know, like an older like 90s RPG. Certainly pixel art graphically looks like something out of the 90s. But instead of playing it the way you play an RPG, you load up the game and it gives you a fake desktop, which has icons and like a start menu button, and the different icons are like your character sheet, the world map, the music player for all the in-game music, your health and mana, and your inventory. And you open up all those windows and you can like resize them and arrange them on the screen. And then when you run to monsters, they're pop-up windows. And their windows move around the screen, and they move around in different ways depending on the kind of monster you're fighting. And all of the buttons to like click for attack or defend or cast spells are all on the monster's pop-up window. So you constantly have to be like, to attack, you have to click on it, and then you have to like wait for your cooldown to end, but then you don't want to like miss clicking on it again so that you can keep getting your attacks in. And then like higher level monsters just move faster around the screen. And some of the monsters that I've run into have abilities where whenever they hit you, they minimize a window that you currently have up. Just a random one, but sometimes it's the battle window, and then the battle will keep going on, minimized, until you reopen it and start participating.
It sounds like a nightmare.
It's extremely clever game design. Yeah. And your characters, depending on what level your characters get before they die, they give you like gemstone stuff that you can use to unlock things. And one of the like tabs of things you can unlock are hotkeys.
That's awesome.
It's pretty great. I unlocked Tab the other day. It was good. So I fully endorse that game. Everyone should check it out. It's great. That just came out. I'm
glad that Adult Swim is going real serious with the games now.
Yes, I mean the game's content is not serious, but they are seriously developing them.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. Also coming out today, apparently, is Splatoon 2.
Splatoon 2 coming out. You can use those horrible, horrible headsets.
Yep, and have a horrible time trying to communicate with your friends.
Yep. We also have coming out in the next week, Aven Colony. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
And we got Pyre and Fable Fortune, which I think is a Fable collectible card game.
Is it?
Oh, when I click on the link, it just gives me the Fable, like overall Fable page.
So it's a part of the.
Yes, it's definitely a part of that. I'm pretty sure it's a collectible card game.
Yeah, it says that right at the end of the top description. It's a free-to-play collectible card game.
Oof, man, that's so
because
sad.
Everyone's gonna jump into that fucking trend.
Yeah, no, it's so sad that that's what has happened with the Fable franchise. But
Pyre looks really cool.
Aven Colony has a really nice logo image.
It does.
I don't know what it is. It's city building strategy.
Ooh,
that's
I like
cool.
city building.
But yeah, Pyre. What is Pyre?
Pyre is a game made by Supergiant Games, or the people that did Bastion and Transistor.
Oh, well then it's probably going to be really good.
It's an action role-playing game, and it was announced a long time ago. But they make good games, so.
Well, cool.
Probably going to be good.
I'll have to check that out. Nice.
Yep.
And with that, we are out of time. It's over.
Oh, yeah. It's done.
It's done. Get out of here. What are you still doing? This has been Don't Copy That Floppy. I have been your host, Lex, with my co-host,
Chris Boudreau.
If you want to check out the show in any of the other places that it exists, you can find us on social media such as Twitter, Facebook, Steam, iTunes, YouTube, all those places. Also, chipbit.net, our gracious hosts. And you can find us on any of those places by either searching Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast, or our handle a lot of places is at DCTF Podcast. If you want to support the show, you can write us a review and rate us on iTunes. We would greatly appreciate that. It is super helpful. And if you have a lot of money in your pockets, it's just burning a hole in there, You can support us by going to our Patreon and pledging some money every month. You get access to story voting and other cool things, and you get rewards, and you help us reach milestones like getting better equipment. Better audio equipment is on the way from patron supporters, so it's very cool.
Nice.
So, Chris, anything you want to reiterate about your stuff?
Oh, I do all kinds of stuff. I think you called me a modern-day Renaissance man last time.
The episode name for the last episode was Unpaid Renaissance Man.
Nice. That's me. I'm the unpaid Renaissance man. I do music, I do writing, I do dungeon mastering, and all of it, you can find links to all of it on my Twitter, which is HereWeGomez8, and that's HereWeGomez number 8.
Very cool, very cool. So, thanks for listening once again. And until next time, remember... Don't copy
that floppy.
Floppy.